Dear brothers and sisters, and as we gather together, I'd like to talk about hope and positivity in our lives. As we look at our lives, we find there's turmoil within ourselves, turmoil in our families, turmoil in our communities, turmoil in the cities that we live in, and then there's global turmoil, difficulties that are happening in different parts of the world. And today, because we all feel very connected to the advent of communications being so rampant, that we all feel the pains and the difficulties that we feel surrounded with. And so when we think about the difficulties and when we experience them, and they have an effect on us. And so how are we supposed to react to the turmoil? Most of us get anxious, get fearful, especially if activities are happening that seems like it might physically affect us. People get very fearful. If activities are happening that might affect our means of providing for ourselves. And the turmoil just puts a spiral in our lives. In a situation in which it seems like there are difficulties which are surrounding us, how are we to lead our lives so that we would be happy and content and joyous during all kinds of situations that we need to face? So there's an interesting example that I like to share with you. This is about 4 friends. And these 4 friends decided to take a trip on a boat. So they went on a boat, and there were many other people on the boat too. They wanted to sail for a few days. And as they got on the boat, the weather was very nice, things were very good. They would go enjoy for a couple of days, all the good meals that you get when you get on these big voyages. And they were having fun, and they were very happy. And then all of a sudden, one morning, as they got up, they looked out of the cabins to those windows, small windows that you have, that they saw the water was rising, and they started to see that the boat was kind of rocking. They were in the different cabins, they got together, and they started to see what was going on. And as they find out that there was tremendous amount of water going up and down and up and down, and they were kind of caught in the middle of a storm. They started to talk to themselves, and one of them says, "But I don't know how to swim. If we capsize, if they give me some kind of safety jacket, which they were given before, if we want to use it, I don't know how to swim, how I'm going to survive." The other one says, they're friendly, so joking with each other. So don't worry, even if you know how to survive, there are sharks in the water anyway, so they get you. You can swim faster than the sharks, so don't worry, be happy. The third one is looking around, he's saying to himself, we don't know if this captain is going to be able to keep the boat from capsizing. And the fourth one said, no, let's have, we should have hope in the captain. I mean, he's the captain of the ship, and look at how many people are on the ship, and he's a trained person, and they know what to do, so we will get out of this difficult state. So the 4 of them are talking, and as they're talking, there's an announcement comes from the captain. The captain said, "Don't worry. Everything is under control. That there's a storm out there, but don't worry, we are taking care of everything here. So stay relaxed and let your activities go normally, because we have seen this happen before too. And we are trained to be able to take care of a situation like this. So none of you will get hurt and nothing is going to happen to the equipment on the boat. And as they hear this, they feel a little relaxed. And they say, okay, let's go have breakfast. And they go to the dining hall to have breakfast. And as they're there, the tables are going a little bit here, some of the cutlery is going a little bit here and there. And all of a sudden there are many other people in that dining room too. And so generally people start to talk about what is happening. And pretty soon they all decide, hey, it looks like things are getting bad and maybe the captain is not being able to control this. And so they said, I don't know if we have faith in this captain. So they said, let's all gather to have a meeting and see if there's anyone else here who's capable enough, so we have a mutiny and we take control of the boat. So they gather on one side of the boat, they want to be away from the captain, they want to do a mutiny. And all of a sudden the captain realizes the boat is going this way. So all of them gather on one side. So he comes on the loudspeaker and he says, I am requesting all of you to please scatter all around the boat and not be on one side. And they say, how did he find out? He must have spies all over this place. He's got cameras, He's watching us. So the captain told them, you are just looking down at the water. And the water is going up and down and your attention is on the water and you think there's a big storm. But I want you to look up. Go out of this situation where you find yourself in, where you are at the state where you're not looking outside. Go outside and take a look. And so as the people go to the deck and they go and look there, as the boat is going, they see another big, huge ship going parallel to it. And this ship has helipads and helicopters and all these big rescue boats. And so the captain said that I had called for help and this ship is here to help us. And the help is going to be provided to us, so there's nothing for any one of us to worry. And this is what happens in our lives too. Our real self is our soul. And the ship or the boat of our soul is our body. And the body also has a mind, which is like these 4 friends. And the other people there who are always questioning everything. They think, why is this thing not right? Why is that thing not? Why did God do this to me? Everyone else seems to have fun. It's the mind which makes us feel that we are the ones who are going through all the difficulties. Okay? And then we become pessimistic and we become negative in our activities and our thought words. And then we create an atmosphere which is very stressful for ourselves and for everyone else. Okay? And when we create that atmosphere which is stressful, then things get more and more difficult. Wherever there's stress, there's never going to be a situation which will be happy and joyous and fulfilling. The storms in life will come. There'll be times when we'll be physically sick, someone who's very close to us will be physically sick. There'll be times when we'll have some financial difficulties. There'll be other times when we have some relationship difficulties, emotional problems. Those are the storms of life. Now, how do we deal with them? Now, if we get stressed in the process, it's very difficult for you to get out of that spiral. So what you're doing is you are putting more stress into the turmoil that there is already. And so you are bringing more difficulties into that situation. And the key is to know that The ship which is next to us, which has all these helipads and all these, safety boats and helicopters and whatever is needed for us to get out of that storm, that is always there next to us. And the one who's running that ship is God the Creator. The helping hand of the Lord is always there to guide us out of any difficulty that we find ourselves in. So those who recognize that, then they have hope, they have positivity in each situation that they find themselves in. And that is what life is all about. Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj, who talked about positive mysticism, he wanted us to realize that God has sent us in this world and God is the one who's going to guide us back home. The help of God would be there. But we need a captain for our own life. And the captain for our own life becomes the saints or the spiritual masters. But the real help comes from God. They're helping us both. So we can relate to them because we have a difficult time in experiencing God. We need to rise above physical body consciousness to be able to experience God. And so we have to relate at the level that we are in, and this is where the help of the spiritual masters or saints and mystics comes in our life. They help guide us. As an individual, we feel more important than anyone else in the universe. We think, hey, I'm very important. God should take good care of me. I don't care what happens to someone else. I should be fine. And so this me business or the ego is what kills us from realizing the true aspect of this life. This is why one of the great saints, Kabir Sahib, has said very beautifully, he says, Jahan Hari hai wahan main nahi, jahan main hai wahan Hari nahi. He says, wherever there is God, there is no question of ego. And wherever ego comes in, duality comes into play, so there's no question of God there. Because God is being one, being united. And God is within each and every one of us. And so whenever our ego sprouts forth, we are putting a wall between ourselves and the Creator. And this thing about us going through a difficult phase and we thinking that we are the ones who are going through that difficulty and everyone else is well, and the saying that grass is greener on the other side. That attitude is one which keeps us from being happy. It's always putting in a state, I didn't get this, this thing went wrong, this thing went wrong. Look at how many good things we have in our life. Most of us have a place to stay. Most of us have food on the table to eat. Most of us have reasonable financial means that we can get and fulfill many of our desires. Okay? And we're leading a reasonably well life. You look around the people in the world, there are people who can't even get one meal a day. They're young kids who have such a difficult time, they're so malnutritioned, they don't get enough to just survive. There's so many people who don't even have a roof on their heads. They're like people all over the world like that. And we just don't look at what God has provided to us and all the gains that we have in our life. We're always looking at, I didn't have this, I don't have this, maybe this should not have happened to me, or why didn't this happen to me? And we're always focused on the negative part of our lives. And what is very important is that when saints and mystics come into this world, like Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj, they ask us to be positive. That's why he coined the word positive mysticism. He recognized that mysticism was very important for us to experience. He realized that we need to be spiritual. We're too worldly already. He wanted our focus to be in the spiritual arena. He also realized that many times when we think about spirituality, we think about detaching ourselves from the world. Okay? We think about negating the world. We think about leaving our home and families and say, okay, I'm now going to find God. Just let me go. Don't bother me, I'm looking for God. And we cut ourselves out from everything else. And he realized that that was not good. That in this day and age in which we live, that was not practical. And so he came up with the word positive mysticism. The mysticism should be positive. Looking for God should be positive. Looking for God should not be negating a family, should not be bringing trouble to our loved ones, should not be shirking from our responsibilities. But looking for God should happen in the confines of our families, of our societies, of our cities, countries, and then at the global level. That by living a life in this world and trying to excel in all spheres of life, being positive about life, trying to do our very best of life, but not tying ourselves to the results of the efforts that we put in. So that's another problem. Most of us, when we do something, we expect it to work out the way we want it to work out. We study hard for a school, we want to come first in the class. Yeah, sometimes we come first, sometimes we come second, third or fourth. It's not the end of the world. We put in a great effort. The key is not what grades we get, the key is what did we really learn. Are we learning what has been taught to us? Are we clear in our basic principles so that the learning process can be built up and we gain more? As long as we learn something well, as long as we are in a position that we are able to learn some more based on whatever we've learned. And so, many times we put in an effort and we expect results and we say this result should come out. And when that result doesn't come out, we get devastated. The key is to do the very best that we can in all circumstances, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, and leave the results in God's hand. Because God has a plan for each and every one of us. We don't know what the plan is, that's the problem. If God would give, as soon as you're born, a whole plan, and you can have it on your iPads and all that stuff, you would know. Because I'm not doing that, I know what it is. I'm not telling you guys. Because I want you guys to put in an effort. Because if God tells us what's going to happen to us, we're not going to do anything. We just stay home, we say, oh, this is bound to happen anyway. So God said, no, I'm not telling you, I want you to put in an effort. I want to see where are you going. And this is what the 25% free will is. Otherwise, 100% of our life could be preordained. But God also wants to see how are we leading a life. So, we go to school, we learn, then we have an exam, right? So our daily experiences are our exams. We are in a perpetual examination. Every day there's an exam. We are being graded out there, okay? So we need to make our life such that there's positivity in there. And so Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj came up with positive mysticism. We stay in our families. We take care of our families, we fulfill our responsibility, we have a job to support ourselves. Whether it's a business we are doing, whether we're teaching, whether we have any activity that we're doing, so which in this world is going to remunerate us for our efforts, that we can provide for our families. And then we, as we are taking care of our responsibilities, we make sure that we find time for the most important aspect of our life, which is our spiritual growth. Then we find that the storms of life are not going to distract us. So he wrote a verse about this state, and it's very interesting how this verse relates very good with this boat theme. So he's giving us advice. Yeah? to this verse. This is one of the verses from one of his ghazals, which is a poem, and he wrote many, many poems. And so in this verse, he's giving advice to us as to how we should be leading our lives. And it's very interesting when we read any one of Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj's verses, and they are so much potent with meaning that if we put them into our life, I think we can get to our goals very easily. And so he says, "Itna tufan uthao na mere hum safro." He's saying, "Itna tufan uthao na mere hum safro. डर है कश्ती न कहीं ज़ैर व ज़बर हो जाए." डर है कश्ती न कहीं ज़ैर व ज़बर हो जाए. So he's saying, do not raise such a storm, O fellow travelers. So he's telling everyone who is traveling with him, who's living in the world at that time, who's a seeker of God. We're all going through the journey of life. God has given us this opportunity to be in the human body. And so he's making this suggestion to all of us, to every human being. He's saying, do not raise such a storm, O fellow travelers. It is feared you will capsize the boat. Because the storms of life are there already. If you raise another storm in there are so many storms around you, and you raise your own storm, your whole boat might be capsized. So he is suggesting to us that we need to understand that we need to stay calm. We need to be still. So how does one remain calm and still? You need an anchor. You know, the ships have an anchor, and so when the anchor is there, nothing of the water going up and down is going to bother them. So what is our anchor? Our anchor is God. And where is God? God is within each and every one of us. So how do we reach our anchor? How do we make the connection with our anchor? We focus our attention in that arena. And so these four friends and the other fellow travelers, when they were in their cabins and they were looking through those windows outside, they only could see the water. Our situation is we look through the window of our eyes, we hear through the window of our ears, we have other senses, and all we experience the world, everything of the world, because these senses are given just to experience what is happening in this physical world. And that's where we are. So what did the captain tell them? This is, you come outside of that. Look above, and you'll see something else. And so what are the saints saying? They're saying, come out of this, focus on the world outside. Look through your single or third eye. And when you look through your single or third eye, when you collect yourself here, when you collect your sensory currents here, when your focus is there, and then you'll be able to experience a new world. A world which is full of light, a world which is full of joy, a world which is peaceful, which is tranquil, which is calm, which is blissful. And as you experience that world and realize that world is with you, it's just going as this outside world is going. It's not like something far away. It's occurring concurrently with this physical world of ours. Then life would be joyous. Because the more focus you have in that peaceful environment, the more peaceful you become, the calmer you are, the happier you are, the more content you are, because you start to realize that irrespective, whatever turmoil is there on the outside, that there's a path for you. God has a plan for you. God wants you to be happy. God wants you to be joyous. And that's the state that we all need to experience. It's very unfortunate that the little things of life, put us in turmoil. And one of the biggest things that bothers us is anger. As soon as something happens which is contrary to what we expect or believe, or we want to happen, we get angry. So the key is to be able to have a mechanism by which we don't let that happen to us. This is why from the old times people would meditate in the morning hours. Before you start your work, when you home into that ocean of peace and calm and bliss and joy, it stays with you. It helps you pass through the difficulties of life. It's for us to think that no difficulty will come in life is not possible. Okay? Because we don't know what karma we have from before. So for our good karmas we'll be rewarded. For our things that we didn't do well, we are going to have to pay for that. So there'll be ups and downs of life, there'll be turmoil. We never stay still in the world outside. Because karma is being played out on a daily basis. We have the pralap karma being played out daily, and then every day we're creating kriman karma, that's playing out too. So karma is being played out all the time, and we're not aware of what situation we'll find ourselves in. But we need to be calm. If we let that affect us, there's a chance that we ourselves will be derailed from our goals. Those of us who are lucky enough to have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, those of us who have been given the connection with the divine power within, those of us who experience the divine light and the divine sound of God, it is for us to connect with that divine power more and more and more. It's a fountainhead of peace and joy and bliss, and it's available to us. Now it's for us to partake of it. It's available. If we don't partake of it, then we are the ones who lose out. Saints and mystics are always exhorting us that we need to be able to gain from what has been given to us. If we never got it, then we can't gain from it. But those who have received it, we need to be able to make good use of it. If we have it and we don't receive it, then it can't do us any good. And this is why a daily meditative practice is talked about. Don't forget about this thing. Know that it is important. And this is why when you do it the first thing in the morning and you do it, and you can break it up and do it any other times during the day, it depends on your lifestyle. Life is much different now than it used to be in the old days. In the old days, people would stay on the farms, maybe get up in the morning, work on the farms and till the land and come home. Today, we got all kinds of jobs. We have jobs which are going 24 hours a day, and we could be working in early morning hours too. We could be on a shift. So we need to find the time which is right for us. But we need to understand the principle. The principle is that when we meditate, we experience the calmness, and it lingers on beyond the time that we've meditated. So it'll help us deal with other difficult times that we are going to pass through. And so when we do it on a regular basis, then we are able to connect with the divine power within. And as we connect with it, we'll find that life will get joyous, that life will be positive, that what we think are the storms of life are just going to calm down. And they'll pass away too. So those 4 words, this too shall pass, is something that we'll experience in our life. And as we have those kind of experiences, we'll find that our life will lived in the best possible of manners. So let us meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight, focus 8 to 10 inches in front of you. And as you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do your Simran. Those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. This repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. Keep your gaze right in front of you, and with time, light will sprout forth. So keep your attention right in the middle of the experience, and you'll find that with time, your experiences are going to get deeper and deeper into states of spiritual consciousness, so that you'll find yourselves experiencing peace, experiencing joy, and being fulfilled. So I pray to God Almighty and to the 3 great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and Dayal Purush Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us connect with the divine power within and to have experienced the divine light of God within ourselves. We'll be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting out of this meditative state. And my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off. Please leave off.